Steelers Nation, hold on tight, because what happened yesterday in Pittsburgh isn't a rumor, isn't speculation, it's real, and it could change the course of this defense. Now, before we dive into this bomb straight from the South Side, make sure to hit that like button to support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already joined the Black and Gold Nation, and drop a comment below. Would you approve this bold move by the front office? Because what went down today was one of those moments that make every fan stop and think, is this it? Is this the moment the Steelers pull the trigger and shock the entire NFL? A big name. Yeah, one of those guys we've all imagined one day wearing black and gold showed up on the team's radar, and it wasn't just a casual visit. He came to prove something. The atmosphere at the training facility got tense, players whispering, people checking social media for confirmation, and the fan base in absolute disbelief. This could be the beginning of something major, or maybe just the prelude to a strategic move being built quietly behind the scenes. But one thing's for sure, the Steelers are making moves, and when Pittsburgh moves in silence, you know something serious is coming. So grab your terrible towel, spin it in the air, and yell with me. Here we go, Steelers! Here we go! Now tell me in the comments, if this guy actually signed with us, would you call it a genius move or a risky gamble? Steelers Nation, what if I told you that earlier today, right here on the south side of Pittsburgh, a former top 10 NFL draft pick? Yes, one of those names fans used to watch on Sundays thinking, man, imagine him in black and gold, was actually working out for the Steelers? That's not a rumor. That's not speculation. It happened. The team quietly brought in Isaiah Simmons. The athletic phenom once drafted 8th overall by the Arizona Cardinals back in 2020 to get a closer look. And when I say quietly, I mean the kind of move that gets people in the locker room whispering and fans scrolling through social media in disbelief. Could this be the next low-risk, high-upside experiment that turns into something bigger in Pittsburgh? Let's talk about it. Simmons, now 27 years old, stands 6 feet 4 inches and weighs 238 pounds. A hybrid between safety and linebacker. He's the kind of player who never truly fit in anywhere, but always looked like he should have. After being drafted out of Clemson, his film promised a positionless defensive weapon, explosive off the line, dangerous in blitz packages, capable of lining up almost anywhere on the field. But that dream never fully clicked. Arizona tried to mold him into a traditional linebacker, and when that didn't work, the New York Giants gave it a shot. Then came Green Bay earlier this year, where defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley attempted to make him a full-time linebacker again. A move that, according to those who know Simmons' game, was a mistake, because that's not who he is. You see, Simmons isn't a plug-and-play linebacker. He's a defensive chess piece, an athlete who thrives when he's unleashed, not confined. In man coverage against tight ends, he can erase matchups. As a blitzer, he brings the kind of burst that offenses have to account for. But he struggles diagnosing the run, his tackling is inconsistent, and his instincts as a traditional inside backer just aren't there. So the question becomes, could the Steelers, a franchise that built its identity on defense, find a role that finally unlocks Isaiah Simmons' potential?
If there's one coaching staff creative enough to do it, it might just be this one. Picture Simmons lining up as a big nickel, sliding into the slot against a tight end, or blitzing off the edge while Minkah Fitzpatrick lurks deep. He wouldn't be asked to run the defense, just to do what he does best, cause chaos. For a defense that's already stacked with elite pass rush talent, that kind of versatility could be deadly on third downs. The idea of pairing him with T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith in sub-packages, that's enough to get any defensive coordinator excited. Of course, this wasn't the only move from Pittsburgh's front office this week. The Steelers also signed linebacker Jacoby Windman back to the practice squad, a familiar face who played college ball at Michigan State and is known for his physical, athletic style. He replaces Jawan Bentley, who was released earlier this week. And as if that weren't enough, 2 more linebackers, Michael Barrett and Simmons himself, were brought in for workouts. It's clear the Steelers are retooling depth and flexibility at that position, looking for the right mix of athleticism and intelligence behind the starters. Now, while we're talking roster moves, another headline broke across the AFC South that sent ripples toward Pittsburgh. The Tennessee Titans officially released wide receiver Treylon Burks, the former first-rounder from Arkansas who was once compared to Deebo Samuel. Remember, the Titans drafted him to replace A.J. Brown, a plan that backfired spectacularly. Burks' time in Tennessee was riddled with injuries, from a fractured collarbone to nagging hamstring issues, and when he did play, consistency was nowhere to be found. His rookie year back in 2022 showed flashes, 33 catches for 440 yards and a touchdown, but since then, only 4 catches in all of 2024. The production simply vanished. Now that he's cleared waivers and hit free agency, fans on Steelers Twitter started buzzing. Should Pittsburgh take a flyer on him? After all, he's 25, still a physical presence over 200 pounds, and when healthy, he can make defenders miss after the catch. It's the kind of move that looks tempting on paper, big body, former first-round pick. Maybe Arthur Smith could revive his career. But here's the reality. This team already has players who fill that role. Between tight ends like Jonnu Smith and Darnell Washington, and receivers with legitimate chemistry in the system, Burks wouldn't add much that isn't already there. His route running isn't sharp, his hands are unreliable, and as of now, it's hard to see where he fits in. Even on a veteran minimum deal, the value just isn't there. And speaking of tight ends, that's where the story gets really interesting. Heading into this week's matchup against the Cleveland Browns, expect Pittsburgh to go heavy, really heavy, with 12 and 13 personnel. That's 2 or 3 tight ends on the field at once, the kind of physical football Steelers fans love. With Calvin Austin 3 likely sidelined, and question marks around depth receivers like Roman Wilson and Scotty Miller, offensive coordinator Arthur Smith might decide to lean all in on the jumbo sets. That means Spencer Anderson, Darnell Washington, and either Jonnu Smith or Pat Freiermuth lining up together, forcing Cleveland out of their comfort zone. The Browns' defense loves to play nickel. Pittsburgh wants to drag them into the mud, old-school football, pounding the ball, controlling tempo, and dictating matchups. We could even see Jonnu Smith split out wide or motion before the snap, used as a pseudo-receiver in those looks. The Dolphins did that last year, using him as a screen option outside, and it worked. Expect Smith to be a key piece of the passing game while Austin is out. The plan seems simple. If you can't beat teams with speed on the perimeter, beat them with size, versatility, and deception. And that's something Arthur Smith knows how to do. But here's where the plot twist hits. Amid all that tight end talk, one name might be quietly sliding down the depth chart, Pat Freiermuth. As much as the Steelers respect him, the truth is, his skill set doesn't quite fit this evolving offensive identity. He's a good route runner, not great. His hands are reliable, but he's had critical drops. And as a blocker, he can handle linebackers or safeties, but not defensive linemen. Meanwhile, Darnell Washington is a mauler in the run game, Jonnu Smith brings yards after catch explosiveness, and Spencer Anderson serves as that sixth defensive lineman hybrid. Freiermuth is caught in between, a jack of all trades, master of none. That's led to speculation that, if the right offer came along, the Steelers might consider moving him before the trade deadline. He's making top 10 tight end money, but the snaps aren't justifying it. And if another team dangled an early day 3 or even a late day 2 pick, Pittsburgh might listen. It's not about talent, it's about fit. If he could help bring in a wide receiver or even a left tackle to reinforce the offense, that might be a deal worth considering. For now, it's just talk, but in this business, talk has a way of becoming reality fast. So, Steelers Nation, the front office is clearly busy evaluating every angle, every piece, every potential upgrade. From Isaiah Simmons' workout to possible tweaks in the tight end room, this feels like a team that isn't satisfied. They're sharpening edges, testing fits, and preparing for a physical showdown in the AFC North. The defense could get even more dynamic. The offense might get even more unpredictable. And somewhere in the middle of all that, a few names, maybe Simmons, maybe Freiermuth, could end up defining how this next chapter in Pittsburgh's season unfolds. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were sitting in Omar Khan's chair, would you take the chance on Isaiah Simmons and try to unlock his potential in this defense? And do you think Pat Freiermuth's time in black and gold could actually be nearing its end? Drop your thoughts below, Steelers Nation, because this story is far from over, and your opinion might just be the pulse of what happens next. And here's where things get even more interesting, Steelers Nation, because while most of the headlines this week focused on Isaiah Simmons and Treylon Burks, what's really happening behind the scenes in Pittsburgh tells a much bigger story. It's about identity, adaptation, and how this franchise is quietly shifting its philosophy mid-season to stay one step ahead of the AFC North. The pieces might look random, a linebacker workout here, a wide receiver rumor there, some tight end shuffling. But when you connect the dots, it all starts to make sense. The Steelers are building a hybrid roster, a team that can morph its shape depending on the opponent. One week it's a bruising 13 personnel power set. The next it's a disguised 3-safety defensive package that confuses quarterbacks and forces turnovers. The Isaiah Simmons workout is just the tip of that iceberg. Bringing in a player like him signals intent. Pittsburgh is looking for more flexibility on defense, the kind that keeps coordinators awake at night. And let's be honest, with divisional matchups against Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Baltimore ahead, versatility might be the difference between a late-season playoff push and falling short. Now, think about what Simmons could become in this system if he signs. You've already got TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith terrorizing the edges, Minkah Fitzpatrick patrolling deep, and a front seven built on aggression. Drop Simmons into that mix, in specific passing downs, as a blitzing nickel or dime backer, and suddenly the offense doesn't know where the pressure is coming from. That's the beauty of the Steelers' evolving defense. It's not just about power anymore. It's about disguise, speed, and matchups. It's about creating chaos on purpose. And speaking of chaos, let's go back to Treylon Burks for a second, because while the idea of signing him might not make sense from a roster standpoint right now, the conversation itself says a lot about where this fan base's head is. Steelers Nation is hungry, not just for wins, but for explosiveness. Fans want to see this offense attack, take risks, stretch the field again. The buzz around Burks proves that even when logic says no, emotion still screams why not? Because in Pittsburgh, we've seen what can happen when a struggling player comes here and finds redemption. It's in our DNA. But if we're being honest, this version of the Steelers doesn't seem interested in collecting reclamation projects just for the name value. This front office under Omar Khan is precise, surgical. Every move has to fit the larger blueprint. And right now, that blueprint seems focused on tightening the defense, solidifying the trenches, and leaning into the identity that's worked for decades, physical football with layers of tactical deception. Bringing in Simmons fits that. Bringing in Burks does not. Which brings us to the offensive side of the ball and the chess match Arthur Smith is playing. If you've been watching closely, you've seen the transformation. This offense isn't trying to win with flash. It's trying to wear teams down, mentally and physically. Heavy formations, motion before the snap,